What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Like I said before in the waifu video, we're going to be doing top lists all this month. This time we're doing a competition between One Piece arcs. Now this list has, I think, 50 arcs in total, but the selections only give you a certain amount, so I'm doing out of 24. Some of these are going to be blanks early on, which means it's an easy pass. Once we get down to the nitty gritty though, they should all be arc versus arc. So like here, Arlong Park, obviously we're gonna send that on. Long Ring Longland versus Whiskey Peak. Ooh. You know, I do like Long Ring, not even gonna front, but I think Whiskey Peak was a bit more interesting of an arc. I find the characters less annoying in Whiskey Peak. Like, as much as I like some of the stuff in Long Ring, I do dislike Foxy a lot. So I'm gonna have to give it to Whiskey Peak. Dario Kobe Meppo and Dressrosa. That's kind of rough. Dressrosa is an entire arc, and then Kobe Helmeppo is just a side story. It's a really good side story. And I do like what they do in the anime for this particular like set of side stories for the cover art, but we're gonna give it to Dressrosa. Oh, they're doing filler arcs? Interesting. I did not look at the entirety of the list before I ran it. I'm doing all of this blind. We're gonna send it for now, but that's probably gonna get kicked pretty early. Egghead also going against nothing, so we'll send that along. Jaya versus Thriller Bark. Okay, so I love Thriller Bark. Obviously, they have best girl on front here, but I really like the humor, the characters, the style. Just there's so much of Thriller Bark that I like that a lot of people don't like, which is surprising to me. It feels like a very One Piece arc. Like it feels very comedic and goofy in a very strong One Piece way. Obviously, Jaya has the entire start of our trail to Skypiea. It's got the punch. It's got Blackbeard. I like Thriller Bark more. Thriller Bark has Kuma. We won't send it ahead. Skypiea arc versus Fisherman Island. So overall, I just like Skypiea better. I think Skypiea has a lot more strength in the story, especially now. Skypiea makes a lot more sense in the story now. Fisherman Island, it suffers from being a return arc where we're just displaying how far we've come. Like that's what that's what Fisherman Island is. We're showing off powers, we're showing off new abilities, we're almost recapping some things. It's information, it's show off. Like it's not, I'm not gonna say it's not important to the story because it does hit very important topics. I just think there's a lot of extra meat in there that doesn't need to be there. But it does have Otihime's flashback, which I think is really, really good. So I'm not saying it's terrible. I gotta go with Skypiea. Goat Island arc. I honestly don't even remember this filler. And I doubt it's gonna beat Romance Dawn anyway. Baratier and Buggy's cover story. Baratier is where I started One Piece. That arc has some special meanings in my heart. I do like the Buggy cover story. I think that's one of the first ones I remember that was like cohesive in a way and tied back into the story. But we gotta give it to Baratier. Garden, send that on ahead for now. Suddenly, send that on ahead for now. Water 7 on ahead. Oh, wow, these are just blanks. These are easy picks too. Reverie, nice. Okay, Caesar retrieval. Oh, that was the pet dude. Yeah, we're gonna go Drum Island. That's easy. Little East Blue. Post, these are both fillers. Honestly, fillers that I don't fully remember. At all, but this one has Belle Mare in it, which seems more interesting from jump, so I'm gonna go with that. Reverse Mountain. The filler is like outside of G8. I don't think any filler is beating an actual arc. Spot Island, that's right after Thriller Bark, I believe. But Orangetown, obviously. Hometown, send it on ahead. I think once we blast through this one, we'll have more competition. Return to Sabodi. Uda's Pass. That was like a brief moment in the movie. Why is that in here? Post in this lobby, obviously. Marineford goes on ahead. In this lobby, obviously. Sabondi. Hazard, send it on ahead. Filler and Impel down going ahead. Zoe, Z's Ambition. Z is a good one. Look at that. Oh, an actual competition here. Wano versus Alabasta. Man. I think... Oh, this is hard. Because there's a lot I enjoy about both of these arcs. I think Wano has way more problems than Alabasta does, but it also has more peaks. Alabasta has a bit more lore tied to it as of this point in time. And I mean, it's where we meet Robin. It's where we meet Vivi. Not meet Vivi, but where we do Vivi's sign off and kind of get the full depth of Vivi. It's got Crocodile, Bone Clay. Like, it's got a lot of good stuff. Smoker really shines here. But I think what we get from Wano, problems aside, feels better to me. G8. Oh, this is the start of round 32, so this is going to be like the actual competition stuff. Ooh. This lineup is good. Innie's Lobby is going to be hard to beat. I'm going to say that up front right now. For me, Innie's Lobby is extremely hard to beat. Impel Down is good. It's not beating Innie's Lobby. Egghead versus Little Garden. I would have to go with Egghead. Little Garden is a small arc, very contained, very good. It sets up things for the future, but like as far as weight itself, I think it's smaller. Egghead has a lot to go after. Skypiea versus Whiskey Peak. Skypiea, Whiskey Peak is one of those smaller contained arcs where a lot of the overarching stuff is set up here, but it doesn't take place here. Where Skypiea is obviously a massive arc full of massive lore. Baratier versus Orangetown. Ooh. Now, like I said, Baratier is where I started. That has a lot of meaning to me. Orangetown, I really like Orangetown. I like Buggy. I like Moji, Kabaji, the mayor, Choo Choo. I like the version of Nami we see in Orangetown, where she's still more of like the thief, the anti-hero. It feels a bit more interesting as a character. Like, I would like to see more of these traits of Nami currently. But you also got to think about in Orangetown, she was a one-man team. She was fighting by herself, trying to make money, trying to get things done. So it kind of explains why she's a bit more lax now, because she's got people around her that will protect her, that will fight with her. So I get it. Bratier overall just has really good stuff. Go from Zeph, Sanji, Mihawk, Luffy and Krieg. Like, as old as it may be, Luffy and Don Krieg, I think, is a really good fight to show the type of person Luffy is. So we're gonna go with Bratier. I don't even remember this filler from Island. Oh, this is actually probably the hardest one I've seen so far. Reverie versus Sabaody. Reverie was really good. Probably some of the most like jarring chapters in succession that we had in a long time. This was like the 902, 903, and 908 chapter stretch where it was just straight gas the whole time. But it's so small and contained. The amount of stuff we get from Sabaody is just so good. We get the supernova reveal. We get the celestial dragons. We get Kizaru. We get Kuma. We get all the new devil fruit powers. We get bounties. We get lore. It's such a good arc. I have to go with Sabaody. Wano versus Whole Cake. I have gripes with both. I think they suffer from the same issue of the ending being a bit lackluster. The peaks in Wano are better than the peaks in Whole Cake. I think the dips in Wano are worse than the dips in Whole Cake. But I want to say I like the characters in Wano more. Katakuri. That's the big game changer, because I would say I like Ulti, I like Kaido, I like Jack. And then over in Whole Cake, there's Big Mom, there's Katakuri, there's Amande, Galette. I don't really care about the Vinsmokes. Reiju is cool, but I think she doesn't get quite enough time to really shine. Oda does well in building her up to be different from the brothers, but I think she could have used a bit more time to be like a star of her own family. We have Pedro's Sacrifice. I forgot about Pound, Oven. Ugh. Now that I'm running down it might be a harder thing about the characters, because I do like a lot of the Whole Cake characters, specifically Big Mom's family. I think there's a lot of good characters in Big Mom's family. The tension between Sanji and Luffy, which is expressed in like the cover here, I honestly don't like. I think it deals with one of Sanji's major character flaws, which I think he gets too emotional and doesn't think very level-headed for being one of the more level-headed characters on the crew. And he kind of creates an entire conflict that isn't really necessary and that doesn't really get solved the way I think it should. Whereas the entire reason Sanji does this is because Zeph is in danger. And he basically does this to, one, save Zeph, and two, keep Luffy and the crew out of trouble. Sanji's been with the crew and Luffy long enough to know that Luffy was going to come anyway. That was a given. And at the end, Sanji just leaves. So it's like you set up this entire thing and you went here because if you didn't go here and go through with this marriage, they were going to kill Zeph. At the end of this, you don't go through the marriage and you leave, and you have like no expectation of how Zeph is going to be. Big Mom can still send people to go kill Zeph. If Katakuri decides right now to kill Zeph, it's over. So it's like, what did you go here for if not to secure anything for Zeph? So like I have a problem with that kind of story arc of Whole Cake. I think certain elements dragged on a little too hard. They really nerfed Big Mom, which I understand they had to do because nobody was ready to fight her. I mean, they do it a little bit in Wano again anyway. Wano obviously has big plot holes, but I think I like it. It's not that I don't like what was in the story of Wano. It's that I don't like what we didn't get. I wanted more from Wano. And with Whole Cake, it's like I didn't like what I got. I think that's the major difference between these two and why I'm probably going to choose Wano. And just as an arc, I think I like it better. Marineford versus Sabaody. Return to Sabaody. I think that's easy. Marineford. Return. It's nice. Feels good. It doesn't have anywhere near the impact that Marineford has. Anywhere near. Zoe versus Filler. We're gonna go with Zoe. Arlong Park versus Reverse Mountain. Arlong Park is I mean, top 10 is not necessarily a huge thing. It's top 7, I want to say. It could be top 5. I would have to really crack down on some things. I think top 7 for sure. As far as like, if I were just to look at pre-time skip, it's definitely a top 5, probably a top 3. Arlong Park is so good. So good. So many strong crew moments here. And because I really like the dynamic of the OG crew, like the Luffy, Zoro, Nami, like that dynamic of the crew is probably my favorite of all of the dynamics. So I think I would go with Arlong Park over this. Reverse Mountain is kind of, it's contained, it's small. It's another one of those things where like you're setting up stuff for the future, but you're not doing a whole lot in the current arc. So we're gonna go Arlong. Post Enies Lobby, Water 7. Oof. I think I want to go with Water 7. Post Enies Lobby is good. It's really good. You can tell by the cover, we got the A's versus Blackbeard, we got Shanks and Whitebeard, we got the introduction of Garp, Luffy's family, Kobe, the reunion. It's good, undeniably good. I think Water 7 and what we go through as a crew in Water 7 has yet to be replicated in the story so far. The actual like the turmoil, the liberation, Usopp versus Luffy, Robin leaving, the crew basically being in shambles for being how tight of a group they are. Everything just falling to pieces, everything looking so bleak. Like that, the emotional roller coaster we go on in Water 7 is too good. It's too good. Amazon Only versus Syrup Village. I would probably say Syrup Village. I don't Amazon Lily feels like a precursor arc. Like I don't think it's that long of an arc, but it kind of just serves its purpose of introducing deeper elements of hockey, I want to say. And pushing us more towards the conflict with the Marineford War and all of that. So it's like, in itself, if I would just look at it by an arc, it's not really super engaging. It's good, not great. Syrup Village, I think, is better for just what we get out of it. Again, more like tight-knit crew stuff. I like Kuro as an actual villain compared to like Amazon Lily doesn't really have a villain. It's more of Boa's kind of an antagonist for a little bit, and then she becomes, part of Luffy's harem. So we're gonna go with Syrup Village. Dressrosa versus post-war. So post-war, I think it's essentially the ASL flashback. Dressrosa. I like Dressrosa. We got Gear 4 in Dressrosa. But I think as far as like story, impactful story, and enjoyment, I would probably go with post-war ASL. I think Dressrosa has a lot of cool moments. We meet Fujitora, we meet the Grand Fleet. We have more like interactions with Law, Return of Sabo. Good stuff there, but like there's so much to get from ASL. And I think it's so emotionally charged that I think it carries a little bit harder. Dressrosa does have some really good moments. Like we get Law's flashback, we get Kuro's flashback, both really good. Senior Pink's flashback, but ASL is just too good. Thriller Bark versus Romance Dawn. I'm gonna go with Thriller Bark. Obviously, I've already discussed how Thriller Bark is one of my favorites, so I'm gonna go ahead and push that forward. Romance Dawn, it's just early stuff. Good early stuff, but it's not beating Thriller Bark. Come on now. Logtown Bunk Hazard. Ooh. Honestly, I think Logtown might be more memorable than Punk Hazard. Like, there's a lot of extra stuff in Punk Hazard that is forgettable. Logtown is kind of a staple arc for like, it's where we met Dragon. It's where we're introduced to Smoker and the idea of a Logia, the return of Buggy, Luffy being up on the execution scaffold, the Will of D and how they smile when they're about to die. There's a lot of stuff contained in Logtown. Punk Hazard, it doesn't have the same oomph. Now it does have one of my favorite moments, which is Law being revealed as a Chichibukai. Like reading that, I was way too hyped when I read that. But there's just like a lot of moments that don't care as much. Law is doing a lot of heavy lifting in Punk Hazard. So I'm gonna go with Logtown. Logtown versus post-war. Oh, we're in the next round. Okay. Post-war. Post-war has more emotionally charged stuff. Story's a bit better. A lot more going on. It does a lot to kind of cover the story from what happened before it to what happens after it. So ASL all day, baby. Egghead versus Enies Lobby. Ooh. Enies Lobby. As much as I love Egghead and has Kuma's backstory, which is my favorite backstory and probably one of my favorite moments, Enies Lobby as a whole is better. It's interesting because these two kind of reflect each other as far as like Luffy versus Lucci, CP0 coming in, we're trying to take someone and leave, like very similar elements, obviously. Enies Lobby is just so good. And I think Egghead has some flaws to it where I feel like, I don't know, I really don't think about Enies Lobby as having flaws. I'm sure that there's problems with it, but nothing that's so like blatantly in your face. Whereas with Egghead, you have like, you have power scaling issues. You have, you know, some gaps in storyline where it's like, well, why didn't we cover this? Or maybe we shouldn't have covered this too much. You got the entire speech of Vegapunk where it kind of drones on a little too long. There are lulls in Egghead for sure. In his lobby, it's so much tighter, and it just feels like if there was perfection, it would look like in his lobby as an arc. This is like the golden standard of One Piece arcs. Thriller Bark versus Water 7. Ugh. I didn't think about it coming down to this, but I probably have to go with Water 7. As much as I love Thriller Bark, it doesn't have, I don't think Thriller Bark really has any heaven. Well, let me take it back, because you have Brook's backstory, which is very heavily emotionally charged. Outside of that, I think as far as like pre-time skip arcs, Thriller Bark is one of the more comedic in that we take a lighter approach, despite the themes of it being very dark and brooding. We take a much lighter approach to the story, especially coming off the heels of Water 7 in Enies Lobby, which was very dark. So I'm gonna have to go with Water 7. Thriller Bark, you know I love you. Gotta go with Water 7. Ratier versus G8 filler. I love G8. It's really good, but I gotta go Ratier, obviously. Drum Island versus Skypiea. I think I like what Skypiea does for the story more than I like Drum Island. And I really like Enel. I really, really like Enel. So I'm gonna go with Skypiea. Sabaody versus Syrup Village. Sabaody, easy. Don't need to discuss that one. Zoe versus Wano Country. I think this is Wano. Zoe's good. I like Zoe. Raizo is safe is still one of the more major shocking things you've seen in the series, I think, as far as like the way I read it. But again, this is an arc where we are setting up things for the future, and oddly enough, we're setting up things for Wano, so I think I'm going to choose Wano in this. Marineford versus Arlong Park. Marineford. Like, Arlong Park is good. Marineford is just that much better. Wano versus Enies Lobby. Oh, this is the final round, I think. No, this is semifinals. Enies Lobby versus Wano. Enies Lobby. And the biggest reason just being because Wano Country, again, has stuff that is not addressed. There's too much left for Wano, and it finished so rushed for going on for so long. Left so much to be desired. So Enies Lobby. Marineford versus Bratier. Marineford, just better. Just better arc. Post-war, Water 7. Water 7. Water 7's gonna do it for me. I think ASL, as I've been saying before, ASL is like it's got the heavy emotions to it. However, I think it does. The reason I think ASL hits so heavy is because it's right after Marineford. If I were to look at it just contained as its own arc, nothing before, nothing after, and look at Water 7 as a contained arc, nothing before, nothing after, I think I would say I like Water 7 more, because everything happens within Water 7. Like, and it kind of becomes more jarring if you don't do Enies Lobby after it, to be honest, because of where we leave kind of like the crew in Water 7. Skypiea versus Sabaody. Sabaody. Marineford versus Water 7. I think we're gonna go for Marineford. I hate to see Water 7 dethroned, but Marineford just got it. Marineford just got it. One of the top arcs ever created. Enies Lobby versus Sabaody. Enies Lobby. Enies Lobby. In Enies Lobby versus Marineford, I would still go with Enies Lobby. And Marineford does a whole lot. It subverts your expectations for the rest of the series, to be honest. Like, if I were to compare these two in a way of saying like how you understand the One Piece story, I think Enies Lobby is a bit more predictable, where we have Luffy going up against the big bad to save somebody. Luffy beats the big bad and he saves the person. Marineford, Luffy is going against the big bads to save somebody. Luffy loses, his allies lose, his brother dies, his allies die, and he has to run away. And I don't think we've really seen that a whole lot in One Piece, honestly. And I'm not saying that Luffy hasn't suffered defeats, because I mean, you have like Aokiji, you have Kuma, you have the entirety of Sabaody is just the Straw Hats getting kicked around. But particularly death. But in particular, it's the death and the despair that Luffy goes through here. At the end, it's like we went through so much. Imagine Luffy gets to the end with Lucci and he loses and he just doesn't get back up. And then they take Robin and they actually execute her. Imagine that happens in Enies Lobby. And then Luffy has to go back to his crew empty-handed. Like, I couldn't say Robin. That's the kind of stuff that Marineford brings to the table. I think there are some issues. If you look at it from a power scaling perspective, I think it does. Marineford arc has a lot of issues with that, where it's like certain characters should be able to beat certain characters. Certain fights shouldn't happen, should happen. I'm not going to weigh power scaling too much on it, because I don't think that's the point. I don't think it's ever been the point of certain aspects of the story. Ultimately speaking, out of enjoyability, I would probably go with Enies Lobby. And Enies Lobby, I think, just from start to finish is just like edgy receipt stuff. Like, I think one of the things about Marineford is that we have Luffy here. Luffy is horribly outclassed. So it's like, it doesn't feel like we're sitting on the edge of our seat, because we know that Luffy can't beat these people. We know that Luffy is in a world outside of his own. And essentially the stars here are the Whitebeard Pirates and the Navy. And Luffy is kind of a side character in that adventure. Not to say that Marineford isn't suspenseful, or that, certain things don't have us like hyped up. I think Enies Lobby, we're kind of like, especially off the heels of losing to Aokiji, we're really stressed. And now, again, like I've done with the other arcs, if I were to look at them in a singular vacuum, I think I would enjoy Enies Lobby more, because it kind of has everything contained. It's literally just Luffy going in and out in the same arc. Because Water 7 is contained in Water 7, and then Enies Lobby is contained in Enies Lobby. Now the two obviously play off of each other so much that they're considered one arc, but I think you could watch Enies Lobby from start to finish, only Enies Lobby, and still enjoy it a lot. And to be fair, you could probably do the same with Marineford. I think some of the emotional impact won't hit as hard. Well, I guess it depends. The emotional impact for Luffy won't hit as hard. But from, I guess, the Whitebeard aspect, this is really the first and last interaction of like the entire Whitebeard crew at once. So it, in a way, is more contained than Enies Lobby. I think personally, I would still go for Enies Lobby, but this is very close. This is very close for me. But I think I gotta go Enies Lobby. But that's it. I kind of thought it was gonna be more sweeps than there were, and I think some of these matchups got me. They really could have gone one way or the other. I'm sad that Thriller Bark didn't make it as high as I wanted it to, but I mean, One Piece just has some banger arcs. But thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Like I said, we're doing these all month, so expect to see some more in the upcoming days. Peace.